Now we're going to talk about doors and windows. I know we've kind of covered it briefly in some of the other videos. You got to have walls, duh. Okay, because doors and windows are all wall-based families, so you have to have walls to put them in. So let's start with our door command, and we'll just look at the properties here. The sill height, most of the time, we're going to leave this set at 0 inches because in real life, the doors are placed on top of the subfloor. And in our classes anyway, we build the floor families so the subfloor is below the level. Okay. And if you raise this up, it does weird things to your drawing in that the sill of the door actually shows in your drawing, which normally you don't want that. Okay. These frame type, materials, finishes, these will change based on what type of door you're using. Some of our projects we're going to use doors from the Revit library. Some we're going to download doors from a manufacturer and use them. And in the classes, we change the material and the finish color. So those will happen kind of in the edit type. One thing right here, well, let's go ahead and go edit type and I'll show you these things. If you need a new door, okay, so here's where the door, all the sizes are given here. If you need a new door, like say, for example, one is not, let's see here, 30, 34, 36. Okay, let's say we need a 28-inch door. Okay, so I can open one up. We need a 28-inch door. So I'm going to go edit type. And, okay, let me back up a minute. With some families, you can make the changes here in type properties. You can duplicate it and do it here. With some families, you have to edit the family in order to add a new size to it. Okay, so for doors, we can do it right here. So we'll duplicate it. And we're going to call it a 28-inch by 80-inch door, okay? And so I would come down here to my width and change that to 2.4 inches. Okay, now in this particular one, the trim has, the trim width is a 1 by 3, 1 inch by 3 inch. We're not going to mess with any of those changes, but in some of our other projects, you're going to see some changes to that. This is an interior door, okay? And these are the materials that come stock with the Revit library. Okay, type mark right here is listed as number 8, meaning that within the Revit database, this is door type number 8. Okay, and then this comes into play when we're tagging doors. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and say okay here to save it. And I'm gonna put one of these in right here. Okay, so you can see the temporary dimensions are popping up, and I can kind of use it as a guide to get me where I'm going. Okay, and if you will notice, the side that I'm cursoring on is the default door side. Of course, you can change that once you've placed it. You can hit the space bar, or you can click the little arrows there, flip it around and move it. Okay, now one thing I didn't, let's go back. Okay, let's look at our options up here. Oh, why is tags dimmed out? That's weird. Did I miss something? Oh, I probably have no door tags loaded. So let's load a door tag while we're here. I'm just guessing that's what it is. Let me see over here. Families, annotation. No, door tag is loaded. Huh. I don't know why it's not giving me an option there. Oh, dummy. I got it now. I didn't turn it on. You got to turn it on up here. Man, I feel stupid. Okay, so door. Tag on placement. Dummy. Okay. Now it's here. It's going to the horizontal tag. We can do a leader in the leader size. And so we place it and it tags the door. Okay. And so let's do that. And now let's change to a different door size. And let's go with a 36. Tag on placement is still on. And when I go to place this one here, a lot of times you're going to find yourself placing doors in the center of a wall. Think about a closet, or if you remember in our project, the bedroom doors were centered in a little wall. So in a case like this, you can come in here and go SM, snap to midpoint, and then it will click the mouse, don't hit enter. And it will center it in that wall section, okay? Oops. Oh, but I guess I didn't have tag turned on, huh? Okay, we can fix that. All right, so now you got your doors and you want, if you want to dimension them, we're going to cover dimensioning in another video, but here you can adjust it with your temporary dimensions and you can use that to get it close. I will show you the dimensioning in another video this week on how to do that. Okay, so now we see this one is Mark 6. And notice this is Mark, not type Mark. Okay, because with doors are tagged and identified individually. So every door in a project will have a different number. Okay. Windows are different, and I'll talk about windows when we get over to that part. Windows are tagged by type. Doors are by entry. And in a rather large building, the doors will be numbered based on what room they are in. Okay, the room number, like, the lab is 115. Well, the door coming into the lab would be, door 115. And since there's two of them, well, actually I have two room numbers, 115, 116. But like where my office is, I'm in a hallway, my office is called 200Q. So my door on the plans would be tagged 200Q. All right, because every door needs to be an individual number because of the hardware, the swing, the frame sizes. There's so many variables they have to be tagged individually. Okay, I think that covers a lot of door type stuff. Tag it. Okay, so we missed the tag on this one. How do we do it? Annotate, and we go here, tag by category, and then we just click the door. I'm going to turn off leader. You can see how it looks there. Okay, with the leader, and sometimes you'll need to use a leader because it's just too crowded. What does a vertical one look like? Turns it sideways. Okay. Most everything we're going to stick with is the horizontal. And a lot of times I will either leave them there or I may I may pull them out into the door swing a little bit. Okay, so now we need an exterior door. Okay, so let's go back to doors and we'll load a family. Go to doors, residential, exterior, single, and I want a 36, 36 by 80, because residential doors are 6'8" tall unless you're doing something special. Okay, so now let's zoom in here and look at some of these. And notice I'm on fine detail here. So this is the interior door. It doesn't show any trim around it. That's because that's the way the door family is created. And we'll cover that in another class. Okay. This one is a different door family, and it shows up. It does show the trim on the plan view. But you notice here we have an option to turn off the threshold or to turn the threshold on. And I didn't see any change. Huh. Okay. I guess in the family it may be set to not show anyway. All right, so you can see this one shows a trim and it wraps around this masonry wall. If I were to, let me just put one in a stud wall. Okay, and so you can see that the door frame adjusts itself to the thickness of the wall. Okay, so those cover some doors. Let's look at some windows. We kind of talked about loading windows in another video. If we look at the properties here, the sill height, that's basically the bottom. It's the top of the window sill, which is the bottom of the window. Okay, the window inset distance. I'll place a couple and you can see what that looks like. Exterior, interior trim, okay. So these are things that come from the family. Now with this one, windows, because they come from a type catalog, it's more difficult to create a new size. And it would be really unusual for you to have to do that. Okay, but it's not an unheard of circumstance. And we'll cover that in a different class. But just so you can see what's going on in here in the type properties, it's got the patterns for the muttons, and some of these are, you've got options in some of them, exterior trim, okay, exterior trim with a sill or a picture frame, and we'll cover that later in the class. Are the muttons visible? Muttons are the dividing grid in a single hung window. And then the exterior frame materials, we'll cover that in a different class also, on how to make those changes. Okay, so let's place a couple of them in here. And when you're placing windows, if you come in from the exterior side of the wall, it should put the window in correctly, in the correct dimension, okay, or direction. I'll put one in here from the inside so you can see the difference. So you can see how the window is set to the inside there on that one. That's backwards. So I would want to flip it. Okay. So let's put one over here in a frame wall so you can kind of see how that looks. And so this particular window family is set to not show any trim in the plan view. Let's see if any of these things change when I go back to course view. All right, see on course view, now the door trim is not showing. Okay, we go medium view, still not showing. Okay, so that's the way the family is made. All right, so let's look at our 3D view on these windows. Okay, and so we can see they're all facing to the exterior because there's our sill nosing. Okay, and I cover how to adjust the head heights of these windows in another in the actual 1129 class when we're placing the windows. One thing to be aware of is that every different type of window family is made slightly different. So the head height may be different based on the way the window is built. Okay. All right. So over here, I've got I've got a brick veneer on metal stud and then a brick veneer on CMU. And I put in some windows and doors. Now, granted, these are the interior doors, but I just wanted to show you what the wall sections look like. Okay, and so there's how this particular window family shows up in a wall section. And the trim is not visible. We'll look at one in the frame wall and see how that looks. Let's look at a door. Let's go to the door here. Okay. And so now you can see the trim is visible in section view. So the casing on the inside and the outside is visible. So let's come back over here. Put a section through that window. Okay, so once again, no trim is visible, and that's this particular window family. Okay. All right, so let's look at window tags. I'm going to delete that because I don't need it anymore. We could have tagged the windows when we were placing them. That's not a problem. I just totally forgot to do it. So I can go tag by category. Okay. Now, what we're, I don't know to mention it now. In our class, we're going to use letters to designate the windows. It just keeps them, kind of keeps them separated from the doors so there's less confusion. And that's kind of a standard practice in a lot of offices. And we'll cover how to change that. But window tags use a hexagon. And there's other shapes available in Revit. And this particular tag uses the type mark as opposed to the mark. You remember on the doors, use the mark. So that was mark 6, that's door 6. Here we've got mark 9, okay? But it's coming up as door 25 because that's using the type mark that's showing up in here. Yeah, type mark right there. And, we'll cover how to edit those in another video, probably in another class, I think. Okay. Insert distance. So let's look at this one. And I want to tile my views so you can. Okay, so if I change the window inset, and I'm going to go 2 inches. You can see it moved the window in. Okay, I guess, well, with, yeah, brick veneer is kind of a tricky thing because it does get inset. If we go back, you can see it was flush on the exterior. That's not how windows are put into a brick building. Okay, there is an inset, and it's usually more than that, but windows get a jamb extension when they have a really thick wall, you know, like this one is. So we're not going to cover a lot about that, but that's what that window inset distance is about, okay? Just so you know what we're talking about right there. Okay, that covers a lot about doors and windows. You know, just the basics on how to install them. Some of the options available on them. When it comes to the actual project, you're going to get lots of instructions in those videos for those classes on placing the doors and the walls and the doors and the windows for those classes. Okay.